Along with 4 other extraordinary treasures, the YIVO Institute for Jewish Research, where I had the privilege of receiving much of my own graduate training. The Center for Jewish History remains well positioned in the greatest Jewish city in the world. Date between the center and Cornell's Jewish Studies program, and we are most grateful indeed to Mr. Slovin for his role as Shadchan Fellow in Near Eastern Studies. Ross has been at Cornell for 30 years and can boast a record of extraordinary scholarship combined with what seems inexhaustible service to the university and the community.
Aaron, to Dr. Barthels and Chair Emeritus Bruce Slovin, who very wisely decided to go to his meeting and then depart from the premises when he found out who was speaking this evening. This is not the first time that I've spoken here, and it's wonderful to see so many friends, many from the Cornell community, but who live in the New York area. A really important subject for the humanities writ large, an important subject in Jewish history, something that profoundly animated and catalyzed the curiosity of the most educated group of German Jewish scholars during the 19th and into the early part of the 20th century, because of a sense that there was something very interesting, dynamic, creative happening to the Jewish communities living in the world of Islam during the Middle Ages, especially in Iberia, that we call Al-Andalus, and that in Hebrew is called Sfarad. When we talk about this today, as we talk about any academic subject, we have to think about our terms of reference, and we have to avoid the pitfalls of what we call in the academy essentializing. Might be studied in some yeshivot, in some seminaries, in some madrasas, but the way in which we study it in the university. We are not interested in demanding of our students or ourselves that we see these 3 great religious traditions as identical. They are not, but they intersect profoundly. And one of the places that they intersect is in the Holy Land and in Jerusalem. So the message in the Arabic calligraphy on the top of this building, I won't read it for you, it's difficult calligraphy, is a polemic against Christianity, taken from some of the verses of the Quran, saying that God is one, that God does not beget, nor is he begotten, and it is an announcement to the primarily Christian, the crumbling Byzantine Empire that Islam superseded in the 7th century in the Holy Land, that Islam had arrived and was literally building on the structure of Christianity, which itself had been built upon the structure of Judaism and the Jewish tradition, the prophet of ancient Israel. No single individual, over 100 times in that text of the Arabic Quran. So this is shared sacred history, the story of how humankind, under God's providence, came to discover the verity of the belief in one God, sovereign over all of creation. The specifics, of course, differ. So how does Islam put this? Just a few examples, and I'll give you contrary examples, because in every religious tradition, including the Jewish religious tradition, there are words of openness and embrace of people living outside the community, and a certain wariness in other utterances about people who are outside the borders of that particular community. Say, we believe in God and that which is revealed to us in what was revealed to Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, and the tribes, to Moses and Jesus and the other prophets by their Lord. We make no distinction among any of them, and to God we have surrendered ourselves. Believers, meaning Muslims, Jews, Christians, and Sabaeans, whoever believes in God and the last day and does what is right shall be rewarded by their Lord. They have nothing to fear or regret. And although I've selected these purposefully for this evening, I could give you hundreds more like-minded passages in the Quran, to other shores and other lands. Urbanization, along with Arabization, the economic opportunity and freedom of movement afforded Jews and other minorities meant a movement of people from the countryside to the great cities of Islam, to Baghdad, to Fez, to Damascus, to Beirut, to Cordoba, to Kairouan in North Africa, and Cairo, where Jewish commerce and interaction with Jews and Christians and Jews from other lands and merchants from other shores, Jewish or otherwise, from places like Venice, leading to a capacity of a community to be confident in who it was and in its religious traditions and practice, but also open to what was beneficial and meaningful and beautiful in its contact with the world outside. All history. So the forms in which all of this creative activity took place, and I'm only going to list a few, just give a few little tidbits of each. For the very first time in Jewish history, Jewish scholars engaged in scientific, systematic study of the language of the Hebrew Bible, on the model of how Arabs and Muslims studied the language of the Quran, word by word, and intimate flexing and experimenting with the structures of Hebrew syntax in the Bible and Hebrew grammar. No one had ever done this before. No one. It was the encounter with Islam and the Arabic language that gave Jews the tools and the impetus that catalyzed this incredible period of creativity, without which today we would not have some of the tools that we count on to talk about these things and to teach them. Together with the study of biblical grammar and lexicography, dictionaries and books of grammar, biblical exegesis and commentary. Now, of course, Jewish history and Jewish texts before this period are intersecting, interacting with the text of the Hebrew Bible in a myriad of ways, enjoyed even as second-class citizens. Maimonides observed, and as for the Arabic and Hebrew languages, all who know both of them are agreed that they are one language without a doubt. This from a comparative Semiticist who understood that the lexicon and the grammatical structures of these two languages make them very close sisters, like Spanish and Italian, or, you pick any two languages from a family, a linguistic family group. And so he asserts this as a different way of articulating his existence in these two domains. One specific to the minority that were the Jews, the other that was shared by all people living in the lands of classical Islam. The spoken Arabic language, and for the educated, the incredible library that was the Arabic text. And of course, I haven't had time to discuss it, but most, although not all, of Jewish writings during this period were written in what we call Judeo-Arabic, which is a form of Middle Arabic written in the Hebrew script, a kind of a Arabic like Ladino or Yiddish. It's comparable phenomenologically, I guess we would say that way. So let's end on a most optimistic note. And I'd like to do this. We're in the time of the year when students at Cornell and other elite institutions are facing their midterms and writing papers, and I try wherever I can to try to calm them down and tell them it's going to be fine, do their work, get enough sleep, eat properly, watch your P's and Q's. And thankfully, some graduate of Cornell entrepreneur last year or 2 years ago came up with this brilliant idea to make Ithaca hummus with